Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast, part of the National Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel. Joining me to preview the Texans-Rams Sunday season opener, Rams insider Derek Ciapala, who hosts the Rams Talk podcast on the Blue Wire Network. It's great to catch up with you, Derek. And, I never got a chance to ask you, what about Nick Caley? What was your impression of the Texans' new offensive coordinator?
I don't have an impression. And I'll tell you why. Basically because when it came down to how the tight ends performed in his system there, it was always Sean McVay's system. We know that we saw tight end development. We saw a propensity to get tight ends involved in the offense, but everything ran through Sean McVay. So when Sean McVay got his patented tunnel vision and he wanted to throw 80 times a game to Cooper Kupp or to Puka Nacua, that's what he was doing, and it wouldn't matter who the tight end is in the game. We saw a lot of usage of Tyler Higbee when he's healthy. We didn't see a whole lot of development there, though, with him, which has been a frustration for me for a long time. But he should have been better than he is. He's still decent, don't get me wrong. We've seen guys step in and kind of be it, and then that was it. So it's hard to tell you, hey, this guy is going to be a great coordinator for you. He's going to do a great job for you, because everything we saw him do was overshadowed by injuries, by Sean McVay doing what Sean McVay does. And it was really kind of hard to see how good he'd be. And I would say that's the same for pretty much any coordinator who's gone through the Rams system, including Kevin O'Connell, including Zach Taylor. You didn't know how good they're going to be elsewhere until they went elsewhere. But the track record's good, by the way. All those other coordinators who went elsewhere have done well. So I think your shot is pretty good.
But there is frustration, you're saying, a little bit with McVay in that, he doesn't delegate maybe as much as he should.
I don't know about delegation. I don't know if delegation is the right word, because he has people involved in game planning. Or else they wouldn't be out there, like Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota and so on and so forth. But in game, he makes the decisions. He's making the play call, and he has a tendency to, and sometimes the worst of times, zero in on one type of game plan, and that will frustrate to no end. A lot of times it's a lack of creativity, for my opinion. Okay, that you would see compared to the 2017, 2018 Sean McVay. I'll give you a great example. One of the core parts of the Rams offense in those height years of offense, 2017, 2018, even parts of 2019, was the usage of their running back. Everything is built in his system around the running back. And that at the time was Todd Gurley, out of the backfield, you name it, that's what he was doing, right? Especially in the screen game. The Rams' screen game has absolutely disappeared, and that is to the detriment of any quarterback who's back there, because you need that kind of accountability for defenses and know that could be there. It's not there anymore. So they have a lot of ways to become one-dimensional in how they run things, and they miss that dynamic where, if you remember back to the 2017, 2018 offenses, teams were hesitant to really throw the book at Jared Goff, or everything Jared Goff, because there's always the Todd Gurley factor in the background coming out of the backfield. You don't find that now. That's just one example of the many examples that are frustrating about Sean McVay. He has a lot of great things, by the way. I'm not saying, hey, go fire Sean McVay. It's just one of his weaknesses that tends to, and not in my view, hold this offense back at times. We're missing some of that creativity, and hope we see it back this year. They got the personnel for it. Let's see how he does.
Matthew Stafford's back has been the storyline out there, I assume. Where are we on the Stafford saga? Is there confidence we'll see the real Stafford on Sunday?
Yeah. And you see the hesitation there. Yeah. See, it's the Rams play a lot of things close to the vest. And so you can't really tell exactly what their thinking is, but they're the ones who started the trend of we're not playing starters at all in the preseason. They started that like 5-6 years ago, and now other teams are following suit. Sometimes it's hurt them. Like sometimes a couple of years ago, they didn't play all their starters, and especially in the offensive line. The first part of the year, the offensive line was horrible. They weren't ready for anything, and genuinely they looked rugged for the first month or so of the season. That's happened a couple of times now. But in the same token, it also allows them to mask a lot of things going on. And one of those things is Matt Stafford. So you have two options here. Matt Stafford's back is really hurting, which I think it probably is. He's old. I mean, for a football player, he's getting up there now. But what I really think it is they're not trying to put this guy through camp more contact. He's 37 years old. How much camp does he really need? And they're trying to mask a lot of that as well. So find excuses for it. But that's kind of where I lean. I think Matt Stafford will be fine as long as they do exactly wrap it back around to the first part. They have a veteran offensive line now. It's got a lot of things that are good to go, except left tackle. The Lark Jackson's a question mark. So if they can protect him enough, I don't even think the back's a problem. They have enough running. They have 3 guys who can run the football. 3. So can they run? That's the big thing.
All right, let's look at the game from our friends at FanDuel's standpoint, and they haven't budged on the point spread the last couple of weeks. They favor the Rams by 2.5. Do you agree? And will you put money on the Rams considering what we know about Stafford, I guess, and what kind of test that he's going to get against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter this week?
No, I don't agree. I would favor Houston for this game. And I would say this, I'll give you a couple reasons why. The big one is the Rams traditionally start slow. There's been a couple openers in the past where they had the perfect game plan and the perfect, like Dallas a couple of years ago, they had a perfect game plan for Dallas over the season and it worked. But usually because the fact that they hold these starters back early in the preseason, they're rough. And I think Houston's too good for that. I think Houston has too much talent up front. And I think, they also have a lot to prove. I think this Houston team is a dark horse Super Bowl contender. I do not in any way think they're going to finish like last year. I think all these folks are down on CJ Stroud. And I think CJ Stroud is much more in terms of production like his rookie year this year than he was last year. So there's all those factors in there. It wouldn't surprise me Houston wins this game. And I have a hard time favoring the Rams when there's so many questions around the defense. The offense right now and the defense.
You just made a lot of fans in Houston for saying that. That's for sure. Before we look at how the Rams address their offseason, because I want to get to that, just a quick reminder for our listeners, viewers, make a note that we're going live 9 p.m. on Texans game days for afternoon games. So tap in this Sunday night on our YouTube channel. If you're hanging with friends or at the afternoon games, you can get in the live chat that night. You don't have to check us out later on. So that gives you a chance to be involved. Make sure you're subscribed too on YouTube with notifications so you can get updates on the live shows and all our content. You also want to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. All right, Derek, the Rams beat the Vikings in the wild card and only lose by 6 points to the Super Bowl champion Eagles. What did they need to address in the offseason, and what do you think of what they actually did?
They need to address their secondary and their inside linebacking core. They didn't do a great job there in that area at all. And I think a lot of it was they were banking on. I think they really thought they were going to get Jalen Ramsey back from Miami. They didn't. They didn't really make a whole lot of moves. And so there's a couple of things that come to mind. They didn't make moves, yet everybody on the face of Rams planet knew what they needed to do. So why didn't they? And I think it's because of a guy named Emmanuel Forbes, a cornerback that they traded for from Washington late in the year last year, was not a fit in Washington, and they got him on the cheap during the middle of the season last year. Didn't play much, but he's a first-round draft pick. Washington didn't play him right. Washington had him playing press coverage when he was more of his own guy. The Rams play more of his own defense. So this is just theory, talking with our guys. We suspect that the reason why the Rams didn't actually make much of a move there for Jalen and we didn't see a whole lot in the corner department, even letting Darian and Kendrick go, which blew us all. They're like, Kendrick go? What? It's because they actually think Emmanuel Forbes is the guy, and they're going to get him developed there, and he's going to fit that corner position. And if they get it around him, then all of a sudden things change. Inside linebacker, another big shocker was they drafted Paul. In the 5th round, he had like a second, third round grade on many of our draft boards. They let him go. Of course, Seattle goes and gets him on their practice squad right away, and they kept everyone's favorite around here. I won't even say his name. An inside linebacker. I won't even say his name because he's cursed for us. Instead, we're nervous, like, why are you keeping him? Losing Paul to us really upset us, and we're not sure why the Rams are good on their inside linebacking core. But what we do know is their defensive line is elite. It is probably the best in the league in terms of what they can do pass rush wise, and they made it better this year, adding a couple run stoppers, Spoon Ford, for example. They kind of fed the beast. That's what Les likes to say. You feed the beast, which is the defensive line, and usually from their point of view, if you can maintain a pass rush, if you can really cause disruptions in the trenches, that's going to help your back four, your back seven, and I think that's what the Rams are trying to do. They didn't really address things we wanted to address, but if you can feed the beast enough, you can offset that. I think that's what they're trying to.
That tells me a little bit about what we're going to get into later when we start getting into matchups. But just a big picture matchup, do you remember much about what DeMeco Ryans' defenses did against the Rams when he was in San Francisco and against McVay?
What he really did well was kept Jared Goff under pressure a lot when Goff was here. They use a lot to mask the front and really build up that defensive line. I used to tell on our podcast that the Niners at the time were built to beat the Rams. They built solely to beat the Rams because they felt like if they beat the Rams, they're going to be in contention every year. So they focus on their front seven. They focus similar what the Rams are doing for that matter. They focus on pass rush and be able to rotate guys in and out. And they were able to disrupt the Rams a lot in the last 6-7 years. And I would imagine that's what they're going to try and do on Sunday. Keep that, especially with Lamar Jackson, maybe playing, maybe not playing. He just returned to practice a week ago on the left side. An offensive line, which is experienced, but not as experienced together to kind of stitching things well. And a couple of new moving parts in the backfield. I would imagine they're going to test the Rams up front pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is there a particular weakness that the Texans defense can take advantage of against this Rams offense?
Well, right now he's on the left side. Because Lamar Jackson, even though he's been back in practice for 6 days, he was out blood clots. You're not doing a whole lot when you got blood clots. He's not even in game shape yet. So even if he's not, I have no faith whatsoever on his backups back there. The Rams are incredibly deep. They're probably one of the deepest teams in the. For them to be able to drop Paul, for example, and let them go shows you their depth. Like they have a lot of depth overall on the roster, but it doesn't mean you have a whole lot of elites that can come in there or even halfway tangible guys on every position. So that left side to me is extremely weak. If I'm them, I'm attacking that. I'm testing it as much as I can. I would also be testing Devontae Adams out there. He's new in the offense. He's in a completely different scheme from what he's used to. And now he's going to jump in there right away and be their 1B. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, sounds like Danielle Hunter is going to be involved in the backfield a lot. More matchups to come, but just a reminder that if you've got people to hire for your company, we know finding great candidates isn't easy. You get too many resumes, not enough candidates with the right skills or experience, but not with ZipRecruiter. They find amazing candidates for you and fast. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. That's totally free. ZipRecruiter's brilliant technology identifies top talent for your roles quickly. Immediately after you post your job, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching tech starts showing you qualified people for it. It also lets you connect with top candidates. You can use ZipRecruiter's pre-written invite to apply message to personally reach out to your favorite candidates and encourage them to apply sooner. Ditch the other hiring sites and let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Okay, Derek, the chess match between Nick Caley and the Rams defense, very intriguing. Caley says he's combining what he learned in LA and in New England, so it'll be a variation offensively. Where do you think the Rams can exploit Caley and the Texans? Are you focused on rookie left tackle Ariante Ursary versus Jared Verse?
No. Like I was saying before, the Rams, their front four is extremely disruptive. So that's where things start. It's not just one. For them, it is pressure from all angles. They're going to get you at either side. They want CJ Stroud running for his life. Every corner, every angle. So don't focus on one side of the line. Don't think of this. They are going to throw everything they have at him, and they're going to do it in a way where they're not doing a whole lot. They're totally relying, especially on the front four to disrupt everything, and they're good at it. So how much better is that Texans offensive line compared to last year? That's got to be the real question for your scheme for Sunday is are they able to look across that line at what the Rams are doing and compete with that? Because the athleticism on all sides is there, and they're not going to focus just on one side. They're not going to just try and exploit one side. They're going to come from every angle, and Houston has to contend with that.
Where can the Texans exploit the Rams? Can the Rams slow down Nico Collins?
It goes back to Forbes and what they do in their scheme. More or less, if I'm the Texans, I'm going for it. Like, yes, they might get burned. It might put them in a position where they turn the ball over 4 times and it's a blowout right away. But I think also they have the weapons to do the exact opposite. What we can see with how the Rams defense plays, especially that front four, I would love to test that secondary. So if I'm them, I'm rolling CJ Stroud out. I'm using the screen game early. I'm doing the little things to kind of put some accountability on the defensive line to where they're not just coming at all times. I would like if I'm Houston, okay, that's what I'm saying, and I'm throwing the ball a lot. The Rams aren't scared of the Houston running game, and they'll be ready for it. So now you're matching up perceived weakness on the Rams defense, the secondary, to what Houston should do the best, which is downfield passing, movement on the outs as well. You guys have some great receivers over there. I would be doing everything I can to get the ball out of TJ Stroud's hands quickly. I would have him rolling out. I would have him moving it. If he stays still to where he's forced to move, whereas he's moving on his own, then the Texans are in trouble. But if they can dictate how CJ Stroud moves and where he's going, I'm talking about the Texans can, then they win this game. It's feast or famine.
Before we move on to a speed round and more predictions about this one, I just want to help you listeners worried about your personal data. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Data brokers make a profit off your data. Your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment. But now you can protect your privacy with Delete Me. As someone with an active online presence myself, privacy is really important to me. I know it's important to you. I've had issues in the past, so I know what a hassle it is. Have you ever been a victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing, any of that stuff? If you haven't, you probably know someone who has. Delete Me can help take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now, at a special discount rate for our listeners, you can get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting HIT to 64000. The only way to get 20% off is to text HIT to 64000. That's HIT to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. All right, Derek, what are the key injuries for the Rams going to this one? The Texans have been relatively healthy going into this week.
They're pretty healthy. There were a bunch of injuries early in the preseason, and then they got healthy, basically. So they've been able to stay. That's what the Rams do. They don't play their starters in the preseason at all, and it allows them to come in pretty healthy. Of course, there's the risk of getting injured at week 1. So, Alaric Jackson, that's it. Left tackle, Alaric Jackson, that's the big concern. Matt Stafford, we think is healthy. So, goes right back to that left-hand side.
Some quickies. Who has the edge at quarterback, CJ Stroud or one of his role models, Matt Stafford?
Just so you know, I'm an Ohio State graduate. I followed Ohio State all the way through. I'm a big CJ Stroud fan. I'm a big believer in what he's going to do in this league. I don't bet against Matt Stafford. I just can't. Over and over again, I can't. That might be CJ Stroud one day, but for now, I don't bet against Matt Stafford.
Does DeMeco's coaching edge defensively wash out McVay's offensively, or do you like your defensive coordinator over our rookie offensive coordinator, Caley?
Well, there's some familiarity there. He knows exactly what our guy's going to do. But everything the Rams did in the preseason defensively was pretty solid. I like what they're doing scheme wise. I like what they're moving with, and I think there's still some settling in that the Texans have to do, especially on their offensive line. So I don't think that matchup, the Texans offensive coordinator versus the Rams defensive coordinator, is really going to be telling. Maybe if it was week 8 or week 9. But if we're going to give an edge, it's going to be with the Rams defensive coordinator. He's been there and done that now. He knows his guys. He's had them together for a full season. There weren't all that many changes any place there were changes, like on the defensive line. They got better. So I'm going to point that out there. Offensively, Sean McVay has been the coach now for almost 10 years for the Rams. He's probably the best head coach in Rams history outside of maybe Chuck Knox during his peak years. One difference, McVay won a ring. Just going to point that out. So I can't in any way say that I got to give the edge to DeMeco Ryans. He's a fantastic coach. He's going to win a Super Bowl one day. I believe that. I can't put anything past McVay, even with McVay's flaws, because when he's on. He does things. And which one, Jekyll or Hyde, do you get on Sunday?
Hard to argue against McVay at this point. DeMeco's got some stuff to prove, so we'll see what he does. Is there a Rams rookie or two who can surprise the Texans this week?
I'd say no. No, the Rams had a good draft. I know you look at draft grades and it doesn't look all that hot. The Rams did everything they need to do, the exception of corner. But there was all really kind of background players, guys who are going to come in there and make the team better depth-wise. They found all the right guys for that. But they don't have the impact guys in this draft that you were going to find in last year's draft. So doesn't mean there's not there. Like the tight end they picked up from Oregon, Ferguson, he's the heir apparent to Tyler Higbee. But Tyler Higbee is still the top tight end on the team until then. Okay. But right now, no. I wouldn't expect anything draft-wise in terms of impact. If you're looking about a team that can go 60 minutes with you and has the depth in a tough game to kind of outlast you, that's a different story. They're one of the deepest teams in the league. So I would say depends on what you're asking. If we're talking about names, plays, so on and so forth, game-changing plays, no. If you're looking for a team that will take you all 60 minutes and has the depth to do it, yeah, that's what they got from this draft.
How does this Rams receiving core going to look against the Texans secondary? Do you think they can get open as well as Stingley and Kamari Lassiter played last year? I mean, two of the best, maybe the best quarterback tandem in the league right now.
I do. And I'll tell you why. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with the slot. What the Rams are doing in the slot right now is really important. And we've talked about it on our side. You saw hints of it last year. Let's just say that. You saw hints of it last year with usage in players like Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, and they're starting to bring guys in who are able to operate more in that slot, aka much like the Greatest Show on Turf did with Oz Hakeem. If they can really utilize that slot position, now the Texans have to do more accounting, and we can see guys like Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua who are already going to get open. They're going to get open. But now the game totally changes for them. So that's what I'm seeing right now. That's exactly what I'm seeing. More emphasis right now on Tutu Atwell, Xavier Smith in that slot. And if they can do that, man, this changes everything.
We have no idea who's backing up Nick Chubb right now, but I'm wondering if Woody Marks, who's impressed everybody over the summer, could be much of an X factor coming back to LA. Did you get to watch this guy much at USC? I mean, to me, this looks like he could be one of the better steals of the draft. And, he's just showed a lot of different angles. That's one thing that I'm really wondering about, Derek, is, who's going to back up Nick Chubb? And could the rookie play a big factor in this game?
I don't see it. I think the way the Texans win this game is against the Rams secondary. So, I mean, unless they're using him in the backfield. But I just don't see it. I'd be more let's just say if Joe Mixon was playing, I would think differently. I just don't see it yet in terms of now what would come week 8, week 9, as the Texans offenses come together more. I might be thinking something totally different. But to start the season against this Rams the front line there. I don't see it.
Our friends at FanDuel have the over-under at 44.5, which means roughly a 24-21 final score. Just let pretend right there it is the over. So that's, a decent amount of scoring here with two teams that I'm just going to say scoring could be an issue with both of these teams this early in the season. The Texans defense as good as it's been. You talked about the Rams front seven. How do you think this is going to play out?
We're right about there. I'm going under. I mean, if these guys played it in week 8, week 9, I think it would be a much different game. But typically the Rams offense early on isn't very good. They really kind of find their stride typically week 6, week 7, if they're healthy. They're usually very disjointed getting started. So I wouldn't expect a whole lot of scoring. The Texans, in my view, are getting the Rams at the right time. They do typically take that a couple weeks to get together. So yeah, about right. I'd say under.
Yeah, I'd feel way more confident about the under than I would playing this by the point spread, the 2.5. In the Texans-Rams matchups, the Rams are 4-1 in the history. The Rams have scored 33 or more points in all of those wins. I'm not expecting that this week, though. Davis Mills threw for more yards than Stafford in the last matchup in 2021, for those who might remember, but most of that was garbage time yards. I do remember that game. The only time the Texans won was way back in 2009. Chris Brown hit a game-winning field goal with 4 minutes left. Some guy named DeMeco Ryans, Derek, had 7 tackles, 6 solo last time the Texans beat the Rams. And I'm guessing you've tried to forget that season because the Rams, Derek, just won that one game in 2009.
I still have a jersey from that season. It was a rough
Which one
year.
did you have?
Laurinaitis. I bought a Laurinaitis jersey that year. I still have it. What a difference in culture now from then to now for the Rams. It was a total, complete failure organization. Sean McVay has changed everything. Totally different culture now. When I was writing for Yahoo back then, or even podcasting very early when we moved to the podcast forum, it was perennially kind of hopeless in terms of how to cover this team. And now it's a different angle. Like, how do you stay focused on, because now the bar's been raised and now you expect to be a Super Bowl contender every year, or at the very least a deep running playoff team every year. It's a complete and total change. Man, you bring back memories of some sad stuff.
Oh yeah. Texans have those seasons in the past, of course. And just remind everybody where they can find you on social media and tell us about Rams Talk and all the things that you're working on. You
can find me at DC Puck and find Rams Talk on X at Talk Rams. We used to do a whole lot of published work. We've moved more and more to podcasting, and very soon we're going to be doing what you do. We're going to be using StreamYard, going to video as well. So we're a little behind the times. Professional life, because I'm a school teacher on the side, changes that scheduling a little bit, but now it's time or else we fall behind. So find Rams Talk Radio very soon on YouTube as well as in audio forms.
Great stuff. Always good to talk to you, and a lot of fantastic insight. Thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate the time, Derek.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, don't forget to support us by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. You can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends about us and share our show links on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.